Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 1 Episodes 4 and 5, Aliens of London and World War 3. And as I've mentioned before, two parters are going to be done in the same review. Same for three parters when we get to Series 3. Okay. So the plot of Aliens of London is, after going to the year 5 billion and to Cardiff 1869, the Doctor and Rose return to the Power State, believing it to be 12 hours after leaving at the end of Rose. However, it turns out the Doctor got the coordinates wrong and they arrived 12 years later. Whoops. So during this time, Jackie has been searching for Rose. She's been panicking. She thinks she's been killed, and Mickey seems to have been the prime suspect in a potential murderer. However, there is no evidence to suggest this, though that doesn't mean Jackie can't poke around and make accusations. But that's all in the 12 years that have gone since the events of Rose. Did I say 12 years or 12 months? In the year, let's say in the year. And now Rose has turned up and shows little to no remorse for what she's done. I mean, maybe a few bits, but very little. Like, she almost doesn't really care that much. I mean, apart from the scene when she's talking about it to the Doctor. But she's mostly talking about the stuff she's seen. So I actually wanted the Doctor to actually kind of go, well, to the bit where she says aliens and spaceships and monsters, and I'm the only person who's seen them. Because it would have been a nice reference to him mentioning maybe other people, or maybe other people in the know. Just at that moment, that was actually a nice scene, by the way, on the rooftop. But just as at that moment, we get the Slitheen spaceship flying over. Who are the Slitheen? I'll tell you about them later. But we see the spaceship crash into Big Ben. Yeah, and it will take them 14 years to repair the clock tower. Kidding. I'm just making a joke because it's currently under repairs as well at the moment, or was under repairs at the very least. No, but it still is under repairs when the Christmas invasion takes place. But anyway, the spaceship crashes into Big Ben and then parks into the Thames, which launches mass hysteria across the nation and the world within seconds. Literally, as soon as that spaceship came around, everyone's like, let's sort. Let's go and see what this is. Let's block off the city centre. All these procedures are put into place. So we have to watch the news. The Doctor and Rose are forced to watch the news whilst more important people check it out. It also turns out that the Prime Minister is missing, and they have to bring this other guy who, by the sounds of it, would not normally be the next in line for Prime Minister in the normal world. However, it seems that the rest of the cabinet are pretty much stuck out of the city, so they could just they got the most important guy that they could find, Joseph Green, along with Margaret Blaine from MI5 and Oliver something from the Transport Department. They get together, and it turns out that they're plotting something because they laugh evilly. What is that they're plotting? We'll find out a bit. Meanwhile, at Albion Hospital, this general guy who is later going to be killed and used by one of the aliens instead of the transport person, he speaks to... Hang on a second. Wait a minute. That's Tosh from Torchwood. That's Tosh from Torchwood, a year before she was in Torchwood. Well, I guess she's got a Doctor story to tell Captain Jack either when she gets hired or once she gets back to work after this story. So after doing this, Tosh obviously goes back to Cardiff and goes back to work there. I haven't seen Series 1 of Torchwood. Does she ever reference this episode? Maybe. I know Gwyneth from the last story is mentioned in Journey's End to be some sort of ancestor to Gwen, played by the same actress, Eve Miles, and Gwen is in Torchwood. Anyway, if I ever get around to watching the original, the earlier series and rewatching this, if I ever get around to watching/rewatching Torchwood, I will review those episodes, promise. Same for Sarah Jane Adventures. Anyway, so General Guy goes to see the temporary Prime Minister, whilst the Doctor goes and sees the alien, and he discovers that it's a mermaid. Well, it's a space pig. It's a pig that's kind of been put into this costume, had its wires tampered with, etc. One of the soldiers accidentally shoots it, much to the Doctor's disgust. And then he goes back to see Rose after a quick chat with Tosh. By the way, she's not credited as Toshiko Soto in this story. She's just Dr. Soto. She'll get her first name when we see her in Torchwood. Anyway, the general guy gets killed by the real aliens, witnessed by Harriet Jones, MP for Flydale North. This character is going to be more important for the story later on, by the way, and a bit more important for the start of the 10th Doctor series as well. Anyway, the Doctor reveals to Rose and Mickey about what his find, and they start questioning who the real aliens are and what they're planning. Meanwhile, Jackie has seen the TARDIS, and she's realised that the Doctor's an alien, and she calls the helpline that's been provided by the news. So the Doctor and Rose are taken to Downing Street. Mickey runs away and go and join the experts that are being flown in. Well, Rose isn't allowed to go in, so Harriet Jones takes her under her wing, and she pretty much reveals to Rose what's going on. And they find the Prime Minister dead, and Margaret turns up and reveals herself to them and this secretary guy, and kills the secretary, poor guy. Meanwhile, Green and the General hold a meeting. The Doctor starts revealing stuff to the experts and realizes that they are the ones who are being they've been brought into a trap to be killed. And the General, the General reveals himself to be an alien, and we get a triple cliffhanger. There's not only that, but we've also got a police officer reveal himself to be an alien, and so is Margaret. And the police officer reveals himself to Jackie and tries to kill her for some reason. We get a triple cliffhanger. For an official episode of the series, this is the first cliffhanger since Survival Part 2, and it relishes it. It's the first cliffhanger of the new series, and relishing the fact. And we're revealed to the Slitheen, which, apart from the face, look pretty menacing and scary. The face is a little less scary, but maybe that was the intention. They're not intending to invade. They're intending to destroy the Earth and then sell it off as scrap and fuel for spaceships and make a profit, as that's what the family Slitheen do. They make profits by killing lots of people and destroying planets, basically. I would say that's a new and interesting direction for a villain to go, but Cassandra's motive in End of the World was pretty similar. She was out to make a profit or get rich, get some sort of it's financial gain, basically. So it's not too dissimilar motive. It's the way it's handled. It's a bit more the way their plan goes ahead is what differs it. Anyway, moving on from Aliens of London into World War III, the Doctor is able to rip off his tag and place it round the Slitheen. I'm guessing that compression thing sort of wires up to the other Slitheens in the area, because the other Slitheens go the same way. So the Doctor escapes, as does Harriet and Rose, and Jackie is saved by Mickey, who also takes a picture of the Slitheen, which is somehow relevant. But okay, though to be honest, I would do the same as well. Anyway, so the Doctor, Rose, and Harriet run around Downing Street chased by the Slitheen and the soldiers in the Doctor's case, and the hunt is on to catch them. But the Doctor, Rose, and Harriet secure themselves in a secure building, and they get Mickey and Jackie to try and stop the Slitheen. Well, mostly Mickey. The police officer Slitheen tries to kill them, but eventually they work out a weakness and get them to get over the Slitheen. But then Joseph Green pretty much makes a big speech about how there's weapons of mass destruction and the aliens killing the experts. However, this is all fake. I'm wondering what this is supposed to be a satire to. And the Doctor realises that they've got to destroy Downing Street, and so to destroy the Slitheen before the nuclear launch codes are provided by the UN. So he gets Mickey to fire a missile at Downing Street, and they have to ride their way out in a cupboard. That's Rose's idea, by the way. That's pretty much one of her very few contributions in this episode. Yeah, Rose is pretty useless in part 2, apart from this one idea. And speaking of the character, she was doing okay apart from a few things she says, and lack of consideration for her mother and boyfriend, apart from a few little bits. Anyway, back to the story. So they ride their way out, and the Doctor and Rose go on travelling. And the Doctor and Rose go on travelling. Mickey decides not to join them, despite an offer from the Doctor and then from Rose. Of course, he doesn't want Rose to know that he doesn't want to come, so he has to get the Doctor to pretty much just say the states that he can't come. I think it could have been handled a little bit better, but I think after rewatching it this time round, it wasn't as bad as I used to remember it. And Harriet Jones becomes Prime Minister, presumably by the end. Well, she will be by Christmas Invasion, so yeah. And she'll get 3 terms back to back. Selective? When basically when you got 3 terms without any terms in between, anyone else having a term in between. Anyway, but well, that won't actually happen following the events of the Christmas Invasion. Time changes. But anyway, so World War III and Aliens of London. It's a good story, but there is a kind of a mix of tone. It's trying to go on a dark angle, but it's also got a lot of silly moments. Not just the farting and the aliens laughing, but it's kind of got a comedic tone in places. It doesn't quite understand whether it wants to be serious or light. I know a lot of people had that problem with Delta and the Bannermen from season 24. Actually, that does bring up a good point. How come was I so nice to that story, and then this one going a bit harsher? Well, I suppose it's because the supporting characters were great in that story. In this one, we got some good supporting characters, but they're acting a bit too comedically, whilst the ones in Delta are a bit more serious, at least. At least try to be more serious. Not to say that the acting or the characters are bad. In this story, Harriet Jones is probably the best supporting character we've had this season after Charles Dickens, minus Jackie and Mickey, who are once again brilliant. They get some really great character moments and some great acting. And I do have to admit, I did laugh when Mickey ran into the wall, into the metal wall when trying to chase the TARDIS down. But at the same time, that is a little bit insensitive to his character. It's a bit unfair. But he and Jackie are well written, and Camille Coduri and Mel Clark do great jobs as Jackie and Mickey, respectively. And Penelope Walton also as Harriet Jones. She's great. And Annette Badland is amazing as one of the Slitheen, and she will be coming back later this season. Yeah, it looks like all the Slitheen are dead, and it's funny enough, it was and let's say Margaret Blaine. That's the woman she took the disguise of. She's fighting over it with another Slitheen. She's fighting over the body, skin, just before the missile hits. Obviously, she will escape with that body and this teleportation necklace thing that she'll have, and we'll see her in 6 months' time when we get 6 months' time for her when we get to the events of Boomtown at the end of the series. As for the other Slitheen, I think the actors do well with their roles. Do some good job. I actually think the Slitheen are pretty good. I think they could have been a little less campy, a bit less silly, but I think they're good monsters and quite scary. And the reveal is actually pretty good. I love how the mystery is building up to the alien menace in Downing Street 2. That they're actually aliens, not and who the real aliens are. It's really great and some very good moments. It's just I think there's a little bit of a tone inconsistency. I mean, maybe along the same time as Delta and the Bannermen, but I think Delta's got away with it more because the characters were fun to watch. These guys, yeah, they're good to watch. I wouldn't say fun, but the story's definitely enjoyable. But I don't think the characters are quite as good. But I think it's a very good story, and once again, amazing, brilliant execution work in the making of this story. I mean, it's going to be difficult to criticize the visual effects and the sets and location filming from Rose onwards. I mean, apart from when it's very obvious, it's going to be quite difficult to criticize those bits, whilst with Classic Who it was quite easy to, hence why I didn't really do it that much, because it was so easy, so obvious. And now it's too difficult, unless there is an obvious bit. So, yes, it looks great as well. Looks absolutely great. And some really amazing performances from everyone. And Chris Ferguson, my God, he continues to be amazing. I especially love his bits when he's on his own and he gets to be really fun and enjoyable in places, as well as a bit serious in places. He gets some really great moments, and yeah, it's just amazing. I like how we're exploring a bit more of his fun side in places of this story, but I do like how he does sell the seriousness still. And he's quite amazing. I do like the idea of him perhaps sitting down for dinner with Rose and Jackie, maybe Mickey as well, and them just talk, maybe having a bit chat, maybe a talk before going off to explore the universe. We don't get that, although we do get it in Christmas Invasion, more or less, with the 10th Doctor. But if Chris Eccleston had stayed on, maybe they would have done. Maybe they would have had the Ninth Doctor with Rose, Jackie, and Mickey eating Christmas dinner. Had Chris decided to stay on for series 2, and the events of Christmas Invasion a little bit different because it's not a post-regeneration story. It's just a normal episode. Besides the fact it's a Christmas episode, but it would have been a normal Ninth Doctor episode, and they would have had that Christmas dinner scene. Maybe not. Might have been very different if the Ninth Doctor had stayed on. It might have been very different if it was a Ninth Doctor story. Anyway, we'll get back to Christmas Invasion. We'll get to Christmas Invasion when we get to that. Anyway, Aliens of London and World War III. I think this is a good story. Some fun times, a little bit of a tonal inconsistencies, and some good supporting characters and actors. Some really great other supporting characters and actors. I think it's good. I think it's a good story. So I'll be giving Aliens of London, World War III I was going to go with 7 out of 10, but I think I'm going to bump it up to an 8. So I'm going to give this story an 8 out of 10. It's a pretty good story and pretty interesting. I like how they're going to Downing Street for this idea. Apparently, Russell T Davies got it based on a girl band music video where they entered Downing Street. It's mentioned in one of the figurine magazines. Not sure which girl band it was, but it was one of them. I think the music video came out in 2003 or 2004, so around the time of the story being written. Anyways, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Next time, we'll be getting to an episode that I consider to be an extremely strong one, especially for this series and for the Doctor who's appearing in it. And yeah, it's wow. Just absolutely wow. Next time, Series 1, Episode 6, Dalek, which sees the return of everybody's favourite space Nazi mutants in pepper pot-shaped tank creatures. The Daleks. Well, a Dalek at the least. Hence, Dalek. I'll see you guys next time for Dalek. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. And shows little to nothing, pretty much resent. Yeah, but we see a spaceship crash into Big Ben and then into the drops into the Thames. But we see a spaceship crash into Big. But we see the spaceship crash into Big Ben. But we see the and we and this episode, cliffhanger of Aliens of London, relishes in the fact it's a cliffhanger. And yeah, a great cliffhanger. This is the first cliffhanger since Survival Part 2. So, including the multiple parts of Death Comes to Time, Real Time, and Shard and Scream. Including the cliffhangers from Dimensions in Time and the webcast stories. And maybe if you considered Curse of the Fatal Death in multi-parts. This is the first no, just cut that out. This anyway, in World War, so Harriet Rose, the doctoress. Yeah, and speaking of the character, she was okay apart from lack of consideration for her family and boyfriends. And speaking of the character, she was doing pretty well character-wise, besides some bitchy comments and some or some Rue. Of course, he doesn't want the Doctor. 3 but that one was a bit more fun. Well, this one's quite fun as well, but I think that one kind of knew what it was doing. This one is actually that does bring up a good point. That one is that actually that does come up actually that, but it does feel a bit weird, a bit. But Aliens of London World War 3, I think it's a very good episode, very well written, well, and stuff. But I think it's and a few good performances, but some very good others, which sees the return of everybody's favourite Nazi pepper pot killing merciless mission, which sees the return of everybody's favourite Nazi pepper pots. Which sees the return of everybody's favourite space Nazis in pepper pot tank cases.